Hallo. Batch! Batch! Oder so ähnlich. So funktioniert das, oder? Ups. Mikrofon ist wieder nicht gerade. Wunderschön! Gar nicht. Hallo. Hey, so Stress. Hallo. Hallo, 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 hallo. Hä? Ich musste schon wieder übrigens den Server wechseln. Es ist irgendwie scheißegal, auf welchem Server ich starte. Ich muss einmal den Server wechseln. Also, sonst einfach meine Twitch-Verbindung pups ist. Yep. Ich hatte vorher noch ein Shirt an, aber das war mir dann, irgendwas mir dann zu kalt. Und dann habe ich das angezogen, weil ist cool. I do like. Genau. Ich bin überhaupt nicht ready. Hallo, Shibi. Oh boy. Es war ein Stress gewesen gerade, ey. Hallo. Ich bin so nicht ready zum Vorlesen, ne? Ich habe meine Brille nicht da. Ja, gut. Wird schon. Ich werde mich 90% der Zeit verlesen. Das kann ich ja, das wissen wir. Ah, Mann, ey. Ich würde sagen, wir starten einfach mal. Ich hoffe... Muss ich einfach Continue? Was muss ich pressen? Muss ich Continue machen? Oder Select Adventure? Ich bin mir gerade nicht sicher. Ja. Select Adventure, okay. Ja, Resolve, da. Oh, Moment. Okay. Sorry, dass ich hier durchschalte. Sorry. Das haben wir letzte Woche durchgespielt. 13 Parts waren es schlussendlich. Puh. Beginnen wir mit dem zweiten. Oh, die Musik. Ah, die Musik ist aber schon wieder geil. Oh, dieses Spiel hat so gute Musik. Oh. Ganz ehrlich, so nach 14 ist einfach Ace Attorney so krass mit Musik, ne? So, warte. Meinen Kaffee auf die Seite stellen, dass ich Platz habe. Ich habe wieder den Controller vor mir liegen. Kann ich eigentlich mit Kreis? Ja, ich kann im Kreis gehen. Gut, aber wir machen ein New Game. Die Musik ist gut. Ist der Frage, ist der zweite Teil? Wann ist der zweite Teil rausgekommen? Weil Unstimmig 17 war ja dann der erste Teil. Wann war dann der zweite Teil? Sind beide im 17 rausgekommen? Oder 21 wieder steht. Ich bin so nicht ready für das. Ich bin so nicht ready. Let's go. Oh. Gibt's wieder eine Anime-Szene als Intro? Na, mal gucken. Kitty! Oh Gott, das ist laut gerade auf meinem Ohr. Holy shit. My ears. Auch 17. Dankeschön für 5 Monate. Das sind alle Trash-Pandas.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean.
Aha.
Those days in London seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital.
Oh.
You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer.
Ist das alles vorgelesen? Hallo?
I've no doubt that at this very moment he's fighting some noble cause in court.
Bestimmt. Oh nein, ist ihr Vater gestorben.
Forgive me.
Nein.
So long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned.
Oder ist das ihre Mutter?
And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
I find myself forced. Oh, nein, nicht die Schwanlady! Es ist die Schwanlady. Das war die Schwanlady.
So I came here today to ask something of you.
Warum war das andere durch vorgelesen?
Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer.
Dürfen wir mit ihr spielen? Nicht die Lady schon wieder. Die Lady wurde... Oh nein, die Lady wurde umgebracht. Nicht die Schwanlady! Nicht der Schwan! Okay.
I ask for your guidance.
Oh. Okay, es ist das Grab von Kazuma. Oh. Da! Waren das übrigens Lilien? Waren die Blumen Linien? Ich sehe schon, machen alle immer Linien. Oh. Das sieht ja schicki aus. The Adventure of the Blossoming Ateney. Let's go, Susato! Yes. Jo. Ich vermisse die Anime-Intro. Hallo? Was ist hier los? Warte, ich muss einmal kurz was umstellen. Weil Sound ist gerade. Ich glaube, es ist ein bisschen laut, oder? Kann es sein? Muss ich auch noch gucken. Oh no, kannst du bitte. Ich liebe das ja, wenn es einfach nicht im richtigen Ort aufgeht. Komm, lass mich das öffnen. Ich hate das. Moment. Einen Moment, ich krieg das hin. Ich hatte mit der anderen Soundeinstellungen. Passt? Okay, dann mach ich es für mich leiser. Aber ich habe ein anderes Problem. Nee, nicht da. Da, das will ich kurz. Einen Moment. So nämlich. OBS ist nämlich aus Versehen auf Game gewesen und nicht auf System, wie ich es eigentlich habe. Und deswegen war der Alert ein bisschen laut gerade. Vor allem für mich. Jetzt ich mal gucken. Mein Audio noch ein bisschen leiser drehen. Ich glaube, jetzt sollte es auf dem gleichen Level sein. Ja. So. Wunderbar. So. 13. August, 8:26 Uhr morgens. Supreme Court of Judicature. Das fängt schon wieder gut an. Judicature. Defendant's Antechamber. 3. So, im 3. Geil. Hallo. Here I am again, after 9 months. The Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Also, ihre Gedanken. Hallo, Papa! Ah, good, you're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Oh, yes, good morning, sir. I hardly recognize you. You cut a fine figure, Counsel. But you look as white as a sheet, and those white eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Aww. Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous. I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I'd never been born. Please, hallo. Bin so nervös. Oh. Goodness. Not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. Oh no. Hallo. Eugene Mikotaba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. A man who, earlier in his life, traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father. Oh. So, wer ist das schon wieder? Wir geben... Ich will wieder irgendeine Voice geben und ich dann einfach damit sticken muss. Nee. Ich ändere die Regel. Wenn ich merke, es passt nicht, ändere ich die Stimme. Excuse me? Oh, hallo, Lady. Oh. Would I be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today? Oh, yes. Yes, that's right, miss. Stimme. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life. It's a complete fabrication, this whole thing. Okay. Tja, nice Augenbrauen. Rei. Membami. Da, die Namen wieder. Membami, born the same year as I and my greatest friend. Moment. Das ist ja wie im ersten Teil, nur dass diesmal Susato ihre Freundin verteidigt und nicht Kazuma halb Ryonosuke verteidigt. Aha, ich sehe schon. Though unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the University Research Laboratory, helping my father. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial, accused of committing a truly awful murder. Oh no. Das ist nicht gut. Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little flushed. Oh, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing. Hat die einen Crush? Sorry? And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful. Die hat's wirklich. Genau das, Kitty. Oh oh. Das sagt er so, was? Bitte wie? Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. Oh, sie sind so hübsch. Wie gut. Ich kann keine lachen, tut mir leid. It would seem our little plan for this trial is going to work. Oh, what? What do you mean, Professor Mikotaba? If even your best friend can see through the disguise, I think we can relax. Oh, sie ist verkleidet! Oh, nice. Disguise? Yes. I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. Hat sie jetzt die Schuluniform an, basically? So eine schwarze Uniform? Oh, please. But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father! Ups! Aus den Crush auf beste Freundin gehabt. What? Is that you, Susato? Yeah, hello. I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, Ray, but... No! What are you doing? What's going on? What? Chill. Okay. That varsity uniform. That varsity cap. That varsity cape. That varsity badge. Look at you. You look for all the world just like a student of the Imperial Yume University. A male student. Oh, nice. Oh, lame. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see. Es darf keine weiblichen Anwalt geben oder so ein Scheiß. It was the only way. The only way she would be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial. Natürlich. Ja, Susato ist jetzt Cross... Leute, wenn ich sehe, wie das aussieht, erstmal Cosplay machen, ne? Oh no. Nee, schaut schon wieder Pläne. Fuck. My defense? So, spielen wir jetzt mit Susato durch. Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are bad to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom. Despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you should go to such lengths for me? Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. Oh no, I have complete faith in you. They. Aww. It's so strange though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already. And yet, just because you're a woman... What a wretched reason! I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Der hat immer noch einen Crush auf uns, nice. Ja, so gut. Herrlich. Ray. Please don't look at me like that, with those flushed cheeks and dotting eyes. Is this a love story? Oh, I'm sorry, it's just... You really do look so dashing. Ich finde das schon peak. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Better no story than Twilight, immer. Ray, you managed to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. I've noticed how your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Oh no! Susato? You do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Oh no. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. Clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence. Which is why I stand with you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side. Oh, Susato. Because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. Hat sie von Ryu gelernt, ja. Also von... Halb von Ryu. That means so much to me, Susato. Ich meine, wir werden sie gleich im Dings sehen, im Saal mit dem Kostüm. Defendant, counsel. Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. Okay. Let's move. You should go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Oh! Stand aside! Oh, bye. I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast. Well, Susato, you've certainly surprised your father. Going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom, and with no prior experience of being a lawyer. There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But father... You haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this. Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. Oh no. I didn't want to burden her with that. And is it true? The reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was? Schwadenlady. Wie hieß sie nochmal? Weißt du es noch mehr? Ich weiß es nicht mehr. We should be making a move now, too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student. Und da steht er neben uns. Ja, that was the way! Thank you, Father. Wie nennt sie sich denn, wenn nicht? I'm Susato Mikotoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he were here, I wonder. Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. Naruhodo! Naruhodo. Guten Tag. 13. August, 9 Uhr morgens, Supreme Court of Judicature Court Room 1. Nice. Oh. Sieht geil aus. Ganz ehrlich, ich finde ja den japanischen Judge mega cool. Der ist mega stylisch. Er ist nicht so lustig wie der andere Judge, aber er ist mega stylisch. This court is now in session to hear the trial of Rei Membami. Auchi. Hallo Auchi. WB. Ich meine was? The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Ja, der muss so reden. Der Japanisch hat den Drip. Guck mal, wie cool. Voll der Fancy. Defense Counsel, are you ready? Yes, yes, Your Excellency, we are ready. Ready? Oh no. Ja, Space Laser Sacho. Nice. Sie guckt schon wie Ryu, ne? So, Scheiße, was tue ich hier überhaupt? Yes, Counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryotaro? Taro Naruhodo? Is that correct? Macht nichts, Kitty. Goodbye. Danke fürs kurze Reinschauen. Schönen Abend noch. Sorry? Oh, yes. I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture. So I'm afraid to say I simply put it down the first name that sprung to mind. Great. Well, Counsel. Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I'm Ryotaro. He who has vowed to upon the pride of the great Naruto clan. Was war das schon wieder los? Judge auch so. Sure. It seems Ryotaro may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first and not overdo it. And those wild white eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen. Naruhodo? Naruhodo. A fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. Hauchi. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be? You may be thinking of Ryonosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as part of a study program. This is, his cousin! That's right. Ryotaro, he has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any of Tokyo's pre-eminent lawyers. Any of them! Ta-ta-ta! What a pitiful situation! Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had to call in a country boy. How dare you! Oh no! Susato is every bit as gallant and dashing as any of you Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you making fun of her. Huh? Oh, Please be careful, Rei. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His white skittish eyes ever much suggest that he is not. I'm so nervous. Ich liebe, dass da jetzt aber Ryotaro steht. Perfekt. Ich finde es übrigens süß, dass sie im Cape und im Hut noch die Farben von ihr drin haben. So dieses Rosa. Ich finde das voll toll. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruto the sun goes through. I like it or not. Eyes are... Like it or not, eyes... Was? Eyes are wont to flit. Ich verstehe diesen Satz nicht. Sentence! What's the meaning of this sentence? Herrlich. So, hallo. Ich möchte gerne das Trial beginnen. The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may well affect the very future of our empire. Just like the trial 9 months ago. Ja, so. And yet, for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown Jackal by the dock. Dear me. Danke, Auchi, danke. Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense. To determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood here while where you are standing now. This same judge tested him as well. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions? Oh my god, she's so adorable! Alright, it's time to prove myself. Yes. So very cute. Der Slap! Yes, Your Excellency. But please, do make them simple. Very well. To start with, you will state the name of the victim. Cute bean. Phew, that is simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried. Susato's adorable in the outfit. Holy shit. Ah! Vergessen. Oh, what's the matter? Not that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruto-san goes through. Like it or not, mine's are want to blank. That's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position and in that guise. Even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances. Oh dear. This is a dismal failure. Don't fret. You need only use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem. Of course, a court record! Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case in the court record. That's right. Just use R to open the court record. Yeah. Then you need to flip it to the people section with R. And don't take too long over it. His Excellency is watching you closely. Alright. Check the court record with R. That's where the information I need will be. People. Giselle Brett! This is Giselle. Giselle Brett. Die sind echt... Holy shit. Aha. What is the name of the victim in this case? Auchi! Ich meine, was? Giselle Brett! Warum machst du das genau gleich? Das ist so cute. The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Mrs. Giselle Brett. Giselle Brett. A name that will never be forgotten in the courtroom of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. Warte, ich gehe mal noch kurz gucken. The female British time of death, 11th August around 2 p.m. Okay. As ascertained by examination and witness statements. Cause of death. Single deep stab wound from behind, piercing a lung and resulting in fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. Extreme notes. Extreme meiosis. Pupil constriction was observed in the victim in both eyes. Okay, also hat sie vermutlich schon ihre Drogen-Intus gehabt. Klingt schon mal danach. Ja, bitte. Fragen Sie. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why then is her name indelibly associated with our own empire's judicial history? Das ist eine lustige Frage. Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in a court record. Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett. Queen Victoria! Behind the woman's student persona was the face of a killer. Ich finde es cool, dass sie mit dem zweiten Spiel schon, also dass sie hier am Anfang wieder auf das erste Spiel verweisen. Finde ich eigentlich cool. Nice gemacht. A killer. 9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University was killed. And the culprit was Giselle Brett. Ich finde es gut, meine Stimme ist jetzt schon Kackstimme. Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain. And it was in the midst of this delicate diplomacy situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, yeah, Dr. John H. Wilson was shot dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor... ich weiß gar nicht, wer das ist. Das ist eigentlich der Judge im Reden, ne? Professor Mikotoba. Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Na toll, er kannte ihn auch noch. Toll! Indeed. It was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was. Stimme, please. Which is why a secret trial was conducted here in the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yume University was arrested of suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Bisher, bisher, wir haben noch nicht viel gemacht. Wir sind in Japan gerade. Wir spielen gerade Susato, basically. Susato verkleidet sich momentan gerade als Mann, damit sie überhaupt durchkommt als Lawyer. Mega cute. Und heißt Ryutaro. Naruto nennt sie sich jetzt. Sie ist ein Cousin von Ryunosuke, ja. Es ist ein Mörder passiert. Diese Lady wurde ermordet. Diese Lady kennen wir vom ersten Spiel. Die war da im ersten Fall der Mörder. Jetzt wurde sie ermordet. Verdächtigt wird Susatos beste Freundin, Rei. Und wir verteidigen sie. Da hast du schon nachgeguckt. Gut, dann kennst du sie. Giselle Brett! Verdient! Und jetzt müssen wir sie verteidigen. Und schon mal gut. Rei hat einen Crush auf Crossdressing Susato. Das Wichtigste. Sonst haben wir tatsächlich noch nicht viel gemacht. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense. Da haben wir die Lady. And exposed the despicable crime committed by Mrs. Giselle Brett. Wie lange wird dieser Intro-Fall wohl sein? Hoffentlich zu lang. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. Ich muss das alles sehen, ja gleich. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's laws. Ja, toll. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead. Warum ist denn schon wieder hier? Bitteschön. Sie hat auch noch ein Cape. Das hat sie aber abgezogen mittlerweile. She's so handsome. Ich finde das fucking adorable. Why Shanghai? Oh. There's a British Counselor caught there. Weißt du, was ich übrigens cute finde? Der Bommel, der den Mikotoba trägt, ist die gleiche Farbe wie die Akzente bei Susato. Family! Stimmt, hat was. Stimmt, hat was. Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. Okay. All that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board the steamship. And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed. Only the day before? That will do. I'm satisfied that the Council of the Defense is sufficiently capable of Ich kann wieder einfach nicht reden. Ist okay. Ich lasse das reden. Of representing the defendant. Hä? Nee, das wurde schon also ihr Mord wird verhandelt, hä? Ich bin verwirrt. Oh! Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle. Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Auchi. Auchi! Ha ha! As you wish, Your Excellency. Er hat so eine dumme Frisur.
The repugnant crime took place on the 11th August in broad daylight.
So, noch besser.
On the outskirts of the imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, at a secluded bathing spot by the sea.
Aha.
Oh, on your baden. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut, erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes.
Ja. Sie ist nicht Lawyer. Susato darf nicht. Sie offiziell darf sie nicht als Lawyer arbeiten in Japan. In Japan dürfen Frauen nicht im Gericht sein. Außer sie sind effektiv angeklagt oder so. Sie ist ja kein Lawyer, sie ist ja nur ein Assistant. Aber sie haben niemanden gefunden, der ihre Freundin verteidigt. Deswegen haben sie hier Cross-Dressing-Action gemacht.
The cause of the death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung. An injury which proved fatal.
Mhm. Der Schwan ist auch gestorben. Nein. Der andere Mikotoba ist ein Arzt. Er ist Forensiker, kann man sagen. Frühzeitiger Forensiker, keine Ahnung. Ich bin gerade zusammenzuckt. Mama, please. Rude. Alter. Ich weiß nicht, warum gerade bei mir die Dings-Alerts ist. Ist Dings so laut? Irgendwas ist bei mir falsch eingestellt für Lautstärke. Moment. Ich muss immer für mich leiser machen. Ja, trinken ist auch eine gute Idee. Auf den Schwan. Ah.
There were 2 persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett in her bathing attire and the accused,
ich finde das so schwer.
Ray Membami. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady.
Young lady. Das wahre Opfer ist der Schwan, ja. In ihrem Badeanzug wurde sie umgebracht. Schlimm. So, was war bitte das Motiv? Der Judge kann auch gucken. Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say. That's certainly true. The prosecution summary was full of words that raise an awful lot of questions. Ja, das rosene Band ist cute. Das ist supi. Vorne hat es einen Stern drauf. Das ist doch süß. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about the motive. Being alone together. Ja, was macht man denn so? Das Motiv. You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement.
Ta-ta-ta. Is the yokel boy using long words he doesn't fully understand?
Rude? I beg your pardon? Just passing past, you know. 2 guys sitting in a hot tub 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
No matter. Let us put this to the accused, shall we? Membami-san, you are a research assistant at the Imperial Yume University, I believe.
Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikotoba in his laboratory at the moment. I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility. Die ganzen Charaktere benutzen Wörter, die ich nicht verstehe. Genau.
Fascinating to hear. Now another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikotoba, whose research were you assisting then? Oh no. Ich sehe schon, was kommt. Sie war Assistant für John. Oh, I was studying under Dr. John H. Wilson. Dr. Wilson? Wilson? Okay. The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago? Oh. The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true? Yes. Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the English woman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with a hatred for what she'd done. A powerful hatred. Sag das doch nicht so! Oh no, Ray. Be careful what you're saying. Ah! Kick. The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency. Well, it was clearly a trap all along. How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for her former mentor against her like that. I must find out more details and something we can use to bolster our defense. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about... Okay, ich kann alle Sachen fragen. The bathing spot. Being alone together. Ich verstehe Dinge! Ah. Membami-san. Yes, what is it, Susa? I mean, Naruhodo-san. I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Ryotaro Susato. Please, tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place. And why you were alone with her. Kann man einfach Sachen fragen? Oh, well, no, that's not true. I wasn't like that at all. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present. A detective who was guarding Miss Brett, for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. But let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. Es ist nicht ihre Schuld, das hat ihr Vater gemacht, okay? Das ist ihr Vaters Schuld. Sie sieht so cute aus mit dem Hut. The truth is, there is only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. Mehr Worte, die man nicht kennt. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life. No. Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. Ach, Pain, ich meine Ochi, ja. And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again. Can't refrain from conjecture, Counsel. Sorry, aber hier... Susato ist halt... Sie ist eigentlich besser ausgebildet als Ryu, ne? So vergleichsmäßig. Sie weiß schon jetzt, was sie tut. Das heißt ausliefern. Nice. The prosecution counsel seems to enjoy using provocative tricks like that. But for now, at least, we need to assemble more facts. Try not to let him goad you. Oh dear. This is really terrifying, but Father's right. We need more information.
As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel whatsoever about the bathing spot. If I may prosecute Aochi. Sie schwitzt auf jeden Fall weniger.
What do you want? You fresh-faced young yokel student.
I wonder... Could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot.
My apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind.
What?
Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is creative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skins.
No, that's not what I meant. A Tölpel. Dictionary im Hintergrund auf, nice. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a non-criminal have been relaxing by the sea?
For all time's sake, I believe.
Sorry?
Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply.
But on what grounds would we agree to such a request? Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal.
Don't look at me, Professor! It was the government who granted permission, not I!
Ich will aber dich böse angucken.
In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong.
Sure. But in fact, a murder took place.
I say, don't look at me! I was that young student girl who did it, not I!
Ich will nicht aber zu dir gucken.
No one has proved that yet.
I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to. Aber ich möchte ihn provozieren. Meine ich natürlich. I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration instead continuing her research work at the university.
But was?
Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions. Seeing the murderer of the mentor for whom she had such great respect enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yes, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai. You can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment. Poor Ray.
So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to pursue this exhibit. A photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident.
Ah. Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image.
As you can clearly see, there is nowhere within the HUD that anyone else could have hidden.
The court will accept this photographic print as evidence. Thank you. As I understand it then, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time.
This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant. Well, Your Excellency, naturally, the prosecution has much more to its case.
Natürlich.
We intend to prove the accused's appalling actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence.
Witnesses? But who?
One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective.
Ist es der gleiche wie da auch schon?
I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt.
Ich auch. Nicht gut.
Very well then, counsel. Bring forth your witnesses. I, Taketsuchi Aochi, have been waiting for this moment.
Sorry?
Oh yes, I haven't forgotten that trial 9 months ago, here in this very courthouse. When that irreverent... When that irreverent...
Ich kann das Wort nicht aussprechen, ich bin gerade zu blöd.
When that irreverent...
Wir lassen das Wort.
When that little student boy utterly humiliated me.
Pech. Warum hat er seitdem seine Haare offen? So gut kann ich reden. Yes?
This insult to the Aochi family name will never be forgotten.
You've become conceited with age, counsel, but the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. Warum darf er sein Schwert eigentlich ziehen? Aha! So, stimmt. Genau, das ist ja passiert. Habe ich vergessen. Und seitdem hat er die Haare offen, weil er sie nicht mehr zusammenbinden kann. Kaputt. Einfach kaputt gemacht. Geh nicht.
Strike the head of a samurai host whose top knot has been cut and the bell of a cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died.
Gut. The start of your own mini-Meiji revolution? Are you modernizing as well, counsel?
Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Aochi Grove!
Nein! 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 No! Mann. What the fuck? What even is this?
You see the seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown.
I think that the tiny grove is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see. Where is the hope exactly?
I said silence! Today, I face another yokel student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you!
Heroes have been vanquished oder so.
And my victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned.
Oh no. No hope, only despair, yes.
With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand.
Zeit für 7 Stunden Trial Fight. Oh no. No. It looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. The prosecution and the defense each has much to lose. A haircut is hardly comparable to Ray's life. Alter! Vater, what the fuck? Natürlich ist es... Ja. Nein! 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 So much nein. Nein! Ah, okay. Nun. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Warum ist Hosonaga immer so weird gekleidet? Warum hat er einen Turtel auf dem Kopf? Warum hast du dir ein Turtel? Was ist falsch mit dem? Ah, Hilfe. War alles lost. Moment. Ah, es ist so laut. Hör auf. Ich habe gesagt Turtel, nicht Honk. Ich krieg meine Flasche nicht auf. Ich bin doof. Moment. Manchmal. Slippery Hands. Yay. Ich habe nämlich Limonade. Limo. Wie habe ich ihn geredet? Ich weiß nicht mehr, wie habe ich ihn geredet gehabt? Scheiße, ich habe keine Ahnung. Fuck. Wie viel Blut er diesmal verliert? Ja. Ich weiß es nicht. Ich habe keine... Wie habe ich ihn geredet? Ich kann mich nicht daran erinnern. Scheiße. Es war doch bestimmt auch eine tiefe Stimme, ne? Nicht gut. Ich glaube, es war auch... Ich weiß nicht, wie ich den geredet. Okay. Artikulierter. Ich habe keine... Benutzt deutsche Worte, die ich verstehe. Mehr was? Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. Sure. Yes, of course. Fuck, wie habe ich geredet? Ich weiß noch nicht. Leute. And I am, well, the next big thing in books. An author renowned throughout the capital, in fact. Yes. Ich weiß noch nicht mehr. Soon to be sold out, the satirical I Am a Cat, a sensational success by Soseki Natsume. Oh my goodness. Struggling student from the provinces, please. You needn't be in awe of me. Oh no, I'm not. The heck, yes. Das war übrigens, das war der Angeklagte im zweitletzten Fall von ersten Game. Wir haben den in England verteidigt. War das zweitletzte Fall? Zweitletzte. Noch so ein Poser. Yes. I needn't? It's only natural that you'd feel nervous in my presence. But all of you, please relax. Call me Soseki, even. Yes. What on earth is Soseki-san doing here? Tread carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it's begun. Nicht gut. Yes, of course, I know. I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him.
Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that it's been since I last saw him. And as for Inspector Hosonaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe. Do I have something on my face? Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either. Ah, I suppose it's this disguise, is it? Natürlich. I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Das Mal hast du richtig hart geflaut, aber gut. Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present. But what business did a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Soseki-san? Ah, well, you see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture on the morning of the incident in the Imperial Yume University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less. Stimmt, Windbag. Windbag. Mit der olden Schachtel. At Yume University? After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. The professor over there, in fact. So. With Professor Mikotoba? Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. Hey, mein Internet stimmt die ganze Zeit. Hallo, hör auf. They wanted some story or other about 2 former students who'd studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leaves me alone. They secretly spy snapshots, scribble notes, and scupper my privacy. Ich merke den Typen da, der die Fotos macht. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure, I think. My provincial struggling student friend, I have plenty of copies. Ich mochte den alten Soseki mehr. Thank you very much. He practically threw the paper at me. Wollen wir schon mal reingucken? Oder wir gucken nachher rein. Ja, am anderen waren wir ja die ganze Zeit durchgehend nervös und so. Hat lustigen Augenbrauen. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory, under strict surveillance, of course. At which attendance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance. And the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her. That detective I am at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga. Thereby, the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems. It was extremely challenging to clear all the other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. But fortunately, I am at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly. Oh my, Inspector, you... Well, you do have something on your face now. Das Tuch, das war so gut. Ah, how unsightly. Unsightly, nicht unsightly. I do apologize. Does that mean that you went to the beach too, Father? Oh no. Fortunately, I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that as my assistant, Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. Ah, but funny, I'd never have seen that awful sight. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret. Aha. Cool. Very well. I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast. Ich gucke jetzt mal kurz in die Reports rein. Der im Hintergrund, super. Das haben wir schon angeguckt. Also sie hat einen Stift in der Hand. Sie hat ein Weinglas, dann eine Weinflasche. Dann hat sie irgendeinen Schlitz in der Wand. Da ist das Kleid von ihr, Handtasche. Da hat sie mehrere Masken. Die Waffe sehe ich niemanden wo gerade. Okay. Okay, ist einfach nur ein Bild. Sieht man in dem Bild irgendwo irgendwas? Oh, die Kamera ist cracked. Ist die Kameralinse kaputt gewesen? Weil guck mal, da ist so ein Crack drüber. Könnte sein, ne? Katze. Look at the cat. Miau! Ja, das ist, war Geheiß Kind. Die ist gecrackt. Okay. Ja, meinst du, ja, es ist eine Umziehkabine. Oder so. Ich glaube, ich muss Kopfhörer wechseln. Das habe ich schon gelesen. Of course, Your Excellency. Relentlessly wrecked by remorse and regret I am. Okay. The witness is seen. Nein, kann er nicht. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I just managed to catch that cab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I ran into the beach, but hot at once, where I found the pair in question. Yes, that young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, as she stabbed wildly. Das stimmt ja schon mal nicht. Ich habe ja schon mal die erste Contradiction. Es ist stabbed wildly, aber es ist eigentlich, sie wurde einmal gestabbt. Single Deep Stab Wound.
Bitteschön, ich habe schon die erste Contradiction gefunden. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times. Indeed. It does appear from this testimony that both witnesses were present, witnesses here present saw it. The very moment of this heinous crime. One steppy step. What?
Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well.
Ich bin mal kurz andere Kopfhörer holen. Ich bin gleich wieder da. Ich mach mal kurz Pause-Screen an. Einen Moment. Hast du ein dezentes Problem? Ich würde gerne Kopfhörer wechseln. Aber mein Wavelink ist mal wieder so der Meinung, nee, ich funktioniere nicht auf... Ich bin einfach nicht im Screen und ich kann es nicht anklicken. Help! Send help. What do I do? Warum bist du nicht in dem... Junge. Warum gehst du auf ein nicht vorhandenes Screen auf? Ich hasse das. Ich weiß nicht, ob... Damn it. Das ist ein bisschen doof. Ich weiß nicht, ob es beenden hilft. Ich weiß nicht, ob dann der Sound komplett erstmal weg ist. Kann sein. Ich probiere es mal. Rage. Okay. Habt ihr wieder Sound? Geht's wieder? Ich habe Sound. So, ich kann damit ein Bildschirm machen. Hallo. Also ich habe Sound. Ihr solltet auch Sound haben. Sollten. Es sollte funktionieren. Ach, Nacken. So. So. Behave. Okay. War er kurz weg oder war die ganze Zeit da? Also einfach gut für mich zu wissen, ob es euch den Sound gekillt hat, wenn ich das ausmache oder nicht. Fürs nächste Mal, weil da muss ich nicht so dumm rumfummeln. Da weiß ich einfach, kann ich es beenden und neu aufmachen. Das ist kein Problem. Immer noch. Sound war die ganze Zeit da. Okay, cool. Das ist gut. Das ist gut zu wissen. Dann kann ich einfach, Wavelink einfach beenden. Ohne Probleme. Das ist gut. Wenn's mal wieder nicht auf dem richtigen Bildschirm aufgehen will. So. Ich habe auch nur kurz eine Tablette geholt. Während ich meine Kopfhörer geholt habe. So. Ich weiß übrigens nicht, ich glaube, ich muss irgendwann das Licht mutig ausmachen, weil das ist anstrengend. Gerade für meine Augen. Zwar sehr. Okay, ich einfach im Dunkeln. Das haben wir gelesen. Ein Stift.
What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes. That was it. Damning evidence.
Ja, also normalerweise eine halbe Stunde. Ich soll es vielleicht auch trinken. Apropos Kopfweh-Tablette. Normalerweise geht es bei mir so eine halbe Stunde und dann wirkt's. Aber ich weiß auch nicht, wie gut ich das Licht vertrage. Da. Und ich exe das immer, weil es ist scheiße. Ich möchte das nicht mehrfach trinken. Ist eklig genug. So. Ein guter Schluck. Ja. Ey, ich habe jetzt ganz viel Wasser getrunken. Ja. So. What have you there, Counsel? A so-called fountain pen? Is it? Fountain Pen? Wasserfallstift. Ich meine, was? Ja, ich meine, ein Springbrunnenstift. Da. Ja. Yeah. Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moments, with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. What?
Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print on the crime scene once more.
Das hätte ich in der Hand. Oh, goodness me. Yes, the victim clearly is grasping something quite deliberately in her hand. Vielleicht hat sie auch das... Okay. Weiß ich nicht. That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. Ja, bitte. Erzähl mir mehr. Ah! The owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. RM. RM. Ray Membami. The initials of the defendant. Oh no! Sato, no! This fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence. A real murderer. Ah, I see. Das ergibt natürlich Sinn. The fountain pen has been entered into the court record.
So, have I omitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence. There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel.
No. Ging dem an. Einen Pen. Haben wir eigentlich schon Piepe? Was haben wir da? Ups. Ich würde gerne den da angucken. Ich kann den nicht angucken? Warum kann ich den nicht angucken? Ich darf ihn nicht angucken. I don't understand. The prosecutor Uchi of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise. Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodo-san. Naruhodo. Naruhodo. That means... Oh yes, me! Ah. Auchis am Dopen. Also, erstmal verhaften, ne? Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom? Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom. Cousin Ryotaro, pull yourself together, please. Alright. I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Find inconsistencies in the witnesses' testimonies to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do. So, wir gehen zu Statement 3. Sagen contradict. Soll ich das einfach mal tun? One single stabby. Das war der vierte. Ban question. Stabbed wildly. Ich könnte einfach präsenten. Kann ich einfach präsenten? Kommt das gut, wenn ich das tue? Ich habe Angst. Ich bin mir Respekt davor, einfach Scheiße zu präsenten und dann mache ich Kacke. YOLO. Go for it, I guess. Kann ich wirklich einfach... Man kann die immer ohne Pressen lösen. Ja gut, stimmt eigentlich. Ja, komm, schieß drauf. Mama.
The witness's statement is definitely contradicted by this piece of evidence.
Ist nicht okay. Anscheinend nicht. Nicht richtigen Reihenfolge wieder.
Is that so, Counsel? Then perhaps you would care to explain to the court precisely how.
How? Well, definitely. Ja, aber... Wow, rude.
Aber da steht ein Step. Oh.
Ja, nice. Aber... Muss ich pressen, damit er das Statement ändert?
Hold it! Stepped wildly. You actually saw her do it.
Oh, indeed.
The terrible spectre, Terrapin Inspector, the bloody torrent, the author's torment.
Press button to press.
Yee! Every sight and every sound is still carved in my melancholy memory.
Also.
That was my impression, at least, as a future literary sensation. Counsel, what on earth was that shrill, effeminate scream? Oh, no. What are you insinuating? I'm as manly a Japanese man as you.
Sure. Gib dem anderen Chat-Beat.
I wonder if I might interject here, Suseki-san. Something you said is troubling me. That was my impression. Were your words just now, I believe.
Oh.
So, do you mean to say you're not confident that you really did see what you've described? No, I mean, yes, I know what I saw. My ears didn't deceive me when I heard that scream, hence my eyes didn't deceive me either. I could describe everything I saw vividly. I could publish it all tomorrow's newspaper serial. It sounds as though the next installment of I Am a Cat may take a macabre turn. I think this is a fool's errand. The more we press your author friend on what he saw, the more entrenched he's going to become. Oh dear, how awkward.
Ich glaube, wo ist denn dann die Contradiction? Wenn Tara schreibt, es ist ein Tutorial, man könnte es ohne Pressen zu schaffen. Bist du dir sicher? Under the inquest, what special surveillance assignment? Der hat eine Krabbe gefangen und dann hörte er einen Caterwall. Was ist Caterwall? Wall. Ran to the beach, but at once where I found the pair in question. Stepped wildly. Ah, da, du meinst da, hier, das Messer. It proved to me that she stepped... Oh. Richtig lesen können muss man, ne? Das ist doch dumm. Guck mal, die Statements sind so nah beieinander. Ja, sie stepped wildly. Ist nicht okay, wenn ich da sage, so, multiple step wounds. Aber wenn Hosonaga sagt, ja, multiple times. Das ist doch dumm. Das ist doch kacken. Alter. Das ist blöd. Hallo. With that accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me, I think I finally understand. Der Finger! Der Finger! Okay. For endless protection! Yes. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed. Oh, die Musik. Oh, die Musik. Schon wieder so gut.
What is the meaning of that menacing pose, Counsel?
Menacing. Points finger at you menacingly. Okay. Hi. I'd like the witness to clarify something from me.
Who? What? Where? When? Who? How?
Nicht du. Poses menacingly. Ja, rote und blaue Muffins. Beide schmecken nach Vanille. Etwa so fühlt sich das an. Not you, Soseki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga. At me? In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What? Get to the point, please, Counsel. In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only. Ah! Stimmt schon wieder. In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. Die Musik ist so gut. Oh, ich liebe die Musik. Ja, der ist nämlich Ryutaro, sein Naturtalent. Yes. And Soseki-san. Me? You claim to have seen Membami-san in the throes of stabbing the victim. Guck mal, aber... Game! Warum? Ich fühl mich verarscht vom Game. Yes, it did! Wildly! But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point. Ja, jetzt wird das Game rude. Jetzt sagt das Game, ja, er hat auch gesagt multiple times. Das Spiel hat immer recht. Nein. Nein, ich akzeptiere. Ich akzeptiere diesen Punktabzug nicht. So. Bitte. That there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding. Böse Game, ja. Yes, and... It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, there is no way there would have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. Das Spiel ist der wahre Prosecutor, yes. That's true! Then what exactly is your connection, Counsel? Are you even going to tell us? Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion.
What Saseki-san in fact saw was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. Aber das macht's gar nicht besser. Danke, that can be. Bringt es uns gerade aber. Excellent work, Susato. You exploded at them with that objection and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically. Well, well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in the trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempting to steal the show. You're right. There were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who has only half a head of hair. Wie gut Homer ist savage. Oh no. Und das stimmt. Slender! My head is quite adequately dressed. Nein. In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing and multiple wounds. It makes not a jot of difference. What? Why not? Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike, that the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim. Ja, das war mein Problem. All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance. Ehrlich. I am in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion. But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we are back where we started. Sorry? Consider this young yokel boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with a demon's cold-blooded composture too. The prosecution demands an explanation, and it had better be good. Why did Ray pull out the knife? Ah, yes. Going for the jugular. What does father mean by that? Let the court hear your answer then, counsel. The truth is, I don't really know. But I have to come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could... Ja, so. Ja, also. Das Einzige, was vermutlich, was am besten wäre zu sagen, ist vermutlich Safer Life. Weil wir wollen ja einen Case haben, dass wir einen Grund haben, warum sie das getan hat. Aber das ist dumm. Man zieht nicht das aus einer Wunde raus, weil nicht wenn du es direkt verarzten kannst. Weil, ja. Aber das ist das Einzige, ja. Stab her again. Mood, though. According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant. That's correct. It's though she would have remained unconscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates her killer. The point is, being a medical research assistant, Membami-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life.
Nobody believes. Nobody believes.
You hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect of this young yokel.
Indeed. Is it just me? Or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may. Speak, witness. I would like another opportunity to testify. In respect to the slipshold assertion just put forward by the local defense counsel, I mean. Slipshod.
An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel hopefully has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense.
Schlampig, also. Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel's assertion. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. Okay. My eyes. Forensic medicine primer. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. Is what you just said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes. Think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. Oh, I see.
Ha! This is why yokels should stay on the farm. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge.
Hey, rude.
Anyone who had ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it.
Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so... Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit. Dada, is it true what they're telling me? Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. Was hab ich die ganze Zeit gesagt? Ja, I know. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways. But then, why would Ray have done it? Could you have pulled out the knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett? I don't know. Das ist ein little Pokey with a Blade. Haben alle Tom Berry gespielt. Ja, Tomberries.
Rain never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but could my friend actually have?
Don't falter! Don't falter! No! Susato.
Yes? Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here.
Counsel, it's time for a cross-examination. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. Excellency, oops. However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify an issue with the established facts, I will be moving to my adjudication immediately afterwards. Ja, toll.
I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard.
Tja.
Basic knowledge any things ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why Defendant would have tried to put my foot. The man big murder nine months so highly respected.
Ich sehe aber gerade nicht, wo ich irgendwas tun soll. Hey. Was haben wir an Evidence? Wir haben ja nicht wirklich viel, ne? Klingt ja perfekt Opportunity zu pressen, genau. Aber welches ist die Frage? Auf dem sehe ich jetzt nicht einfach, warum ich den pressen sollte. Das ist ja Basic Knowledge. There's no reason why the defendant tried to. Maybe da. Mal was raussuchen vielleicht. But the defendant had suddenly ich wollte eigentlich ins Court Record gucken, stimmt. Might be a lot of pressing. Suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. Ich wollte eigentlich ins Court Record gucken, aber das kann ich halt nicht während ich im Witness-Ding bin. Cross-Examination. She's a bred female British, time of death 11th August at around 2 p.m. Assertion by examination, witness statements. Single deep stab wound from behind, piercing a lung and resulting in fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. Extreme meiosis. Pupil constriction. Das ist halt das, was ich mich... Wir haben keine Erklärung, warum. Was observed in the victims... Was observed in the victim in both eyes. Extreme meiosis. Pupil constriction. Es ist gemeint, dass sie geweitet waren? Weiß das jemand gerade? Oder dass sie... Oder war es extrem zusammengezogen? Constriction klingt danach, dass sie zusammengezogen waren. Aber ich bin mir nicht sicher. Ich habe ein Bild. Das sagt ja nichts aus. Student text dazu, time of death after 2 p.m. Death is believed to be due to trauma to the victim's lung from a knife. Only a single wound was identified. Photographic print of the scene taken by police just after the incident occurred. Stab wound in the victim's back is clearly visible. newspaper containing an article about a discussion between my father and Suzuki-san. The debate became quite spirited. Oder aber ist sonst auch nichts drauf, ne? Du meinst, dass die Kamera da gesplittert ist, bestimmt irgendwann noch wichtig. Keine Ahnung. Okay. I don't know. Ich frage mich, warum ich den scheiß Stift nicht angucken kann. Ich möchte ihn angucken. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it? Wow. Oh dear. You have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views. Oh dear. Perhaps I'm letting my male persona take hold a little too much. Well, I've managed to convey the basics now. That should cover the medical side of the argument. So forget that the true motive. Wir wissen, was das Motiv ist. Aber kannst du gerne nochmal sagen. Whatever the motive, it just isn't in Membami's son's nature to do something so awful. But she had both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against. But you don't know the defendant? Das ist keine Begründung. And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law. Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings. With this, fledgling to defend her, I would almost say I pity the accused. So do I. Inspector, you will reiterate your point about the defendant's motive, please. Ah, yes. Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Membami's son. Ja, das weiß ich doch. Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Membami's son's talents and offered her the position of assistant, despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him. Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Membami's son's abilities. Clearly, the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point. Jetzt? This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If I knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further. I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it. Susato, it's at times like these when it is especially important to remember the fundamentals. Fundamentals? Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it? Of course, but I've been through the court record dozens of times already. I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You needn't take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail. Gut. Okay. I realize this is your first time playing the role of lawyer in the courtroom. So if you need reminding of the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my very best to help. Kann ich immer noch nicht. Examine the evidence in the court record. It's an idea, certainly. What should I do? I know what to do. Come to think of it. Game! Kannst du nicht so rude sein? Gott. Ja, okay. Fucking Tutorial, ey! Dummes Tutorial. I hate this. Okay. Hallo. Was ist das? There's some sort of emblem here, look. Alter, das Bild sieht ja voll... sie handsome mit dem Bild. Guck mal, how handsome. She one handsome boy. So sagt one handsome boy. Ich mag halt das Cape auch mega, ne? Es ist voll schick. Wenn du dem Spiel zu geskillt bist, ja, ey. Fühlt sich an, wie wenn du so ein Low-Level-Dungeon gehst mit der Klasse, die du auf Level 90 hast. So, ich weiß, wie die Klasse funktioniert. But it isn't a Yume University one. It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind. But that would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray. Dieses Spiel. Okay, kann ich mit dem dann? Was haben wir da noch? The RM initials are very clearly engraved here. Was ich ja nicht verstehe ist, warum würde eine japanische Person diese Zeichen, also die Initialen in Englisch schreiben? And the fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pen in her dying moments is very clearly a message too. To identify a killer, you mean? I don't think there can be any doubts that this is a key piece of evidence in this case. If we take the pen's lid, dann haben wir einen Stift. Das ist ein Stift. Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? Warum hast du... Das ist empty. Empty! 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 Okay. This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink. Yes, you fill it by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nib. Ah, so. Hä? Jedoch. Is something wrong, Father? Also, mein Punkt ist, ich glaube, das ist neu. Ist ein neuer Stift, oder? Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there. That's all. Oh, yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Spritze. Du meinst, da war vermutlich das, weswegen ihre Augen... War das, was... Ich muss jetzt mal kurz Google benutzen. Google, komm mal her. Was ist Meiosis? Hallo. Meiosis oder Stenokorie ist die medizinische Bezeichnung für die ein- oder beidseitige Engstellung der Pupille. Okay, es ist die Engstellung. Es ist wirklich, also... Ausgehend von einem durchschnittlichen Durchmesser des Sehlochs kann sie unterschiedlich stark ausgeprägt sein. Das Gegenteil der Meiosis ist Weitstellung der Pupille, wird als Mydriasis bezeichnet. Okay, es ist also, sie hatte zusammengezogene Pupillen. Poison wipes again. Ja, same.
Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose.
Nice, so. Sonst gibt's nichts mehr. Ich glaube, jetzt haben wir alles gesehen. Ja. Gut. Nice. Tada! Wo sage ich das jetzt? Come to think of it. Kazuma-sama and Naruto-san were always turning evidence over and over in their hands. Yes, I need to examine things in greater detail with A! Already done. Ah, by the look in your eyes, it seems... I see it's coming back to you. Go through the court record again and have a throughout look at everything. You may just find a clue. Yes, I'll go straight... I'll do it straight away. Already did. Okay. Wo? Ich muss mir 100% den Stift zeigen, aber wo? Hä? Ich werde vermutlich den zeigen müssen. Die Frage ist echt, wo? Wo zeige ich den Stift? Wenn was sagt das aus, dass der Stift das Symbol drauf hat? Inwiefern hilft mir das? Dass es nicht ihr Stift ist, ja. Und... es hat keine Tinte drin. Genau, schnell gucken wir raus. Okay, das hatten wir aber. Das sehe ich halt auch nicht mehr, ne? Stab-Wound. Stift. Federn vom Schwan. Das ist bestimmt auf dem Stuhl und jemand hinter ihr hat sie getötet und sie dann geschubst. Ne, keine Ahnung, weiß ich noch nicht. Oh! Du bist rude, Game! Kannst du nicht einfach das Augen umwandeln in ein... Ah! Ich dachte, ich kann das nicht angucken, weil es wie ein Bild war und nicht ein Objekt. Oh! Spiel! Ja, bitte. Guck mal einmal die Seite an und das ist bestimmt auf der Rückseite mehr. Goddammit. Rauka's England returnees, tell all. This is the interview with you and Soseki-san, is it, father? Looks as though it was quite an exchange. Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me on the neck. I do hope you weren't hurt. Okay, sonst ist da nix. Was haben wir auf der Rückseite? This is the newspaper from Soseki-san. There seems to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive Deadly poison stolen. Ja, so. Deadly poison stolen from Humane Medical Research Laboratory.
From Yume's medical research. Father, isn't that your lab? What the... Let me see that. The poison's been stolen? It's this morning's paper that Soseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know? As embarrassing as it is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard any such thing. Bread und poison Legasp! Yes. Where on earth would the reporter have gleaned his information? Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning this story in our paper this morning, was there? It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on in this strictest confidence. I'd put Ray in charge of the project. Ray? She was managing it? If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, details were leaked somehow. I don't believe it. We need to read this article very carefully. Kann ich das denn jetzt genau lesen, oder? Nee, kann ich. Also, da, jetzt wird's anders. It seems an attempt to cover up was at play. This is extraordinary. What I'd really like to know is how a reporter found out about it. Well, however it happened. I have to take full responsibility. There'll be serious consequences for sure. Oh, Father. Okay. Ah, so, oh, ah. Oh, ah, oh, ah, so. So. Das ist extra Punkt. Exclusive deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. Following a lecture at Yume by Soseki Natsume on 11th August, it's come to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science laboratory was stolen. Deadly in tiny quantities. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Why is the poison being developed? Onset of symptoms occur in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids, Gott im Worte, alkaloids, and rumored to have been commissioned by the military. British English Supremacy. Yes. Ich glaube, das ist aber auch, weil ich die europäische Version spiele und nicht die englische, die amerikanische. Okay. Evidence. Evidence, people. Evidence. Okay. So, ja. Ja. Press, los! Einfach Autoplay reinmachen und Spiel spielen lassen. Okay, pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge. That's medical research. No. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant could have tried to pull the knife out from the victim. Don't forget that the young student... Bei den letzten Statements klingt nicht richtig. Ich glaube, ich muss irgendwo bei den ersten paar.
There's no good reason. Wir könnten da sagen. Wegen dem Poison? Aber warum? Ich press nochmal kurz. But the defendant had suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. This could have shocked her delicate. You don't think in it. Macht das Sinn da? Ich weiß es nicht. Rationally. Schwierig. Ich denke da... Es klingt ja nur da, als ob nur da... Aber was zeige ich denn da? Ich bin stuck. Hat jemand eine gute Idee? Ich stehe gerade auf dem Schlauch. Das ist der Tutorial-Fall und ich stehe auf dem Schlauch. Perfekt, ne? Ist nice, I know. Ich bin so gut. Haha, Mann, ey. Bei dem da, weil für mich sieht einfach das Einzige danach aus, wo ich was sagen kann, ne? Ein Artikel. Was war den da? Musik ist weg. No, there is one possibility. Ja gut, ich schätze mal, es ist halt aufbauend, ne, auf dem letzten. Ich glaube, deswegen ist es nicht ein easy Tutorial. Ich meine, im Vergleich zu, wenn wir bedenken, in den meisten Fällen sehen wir, also zum Beispiel beim ersten Phoenix Wright-Fall, sieht man, also weiß man ganz klar, wer der Mörder ist, sofort. Wir haben eigentlich literally keine Ahnung. Von dem her wir haben schon weniger Ahnung als bei anderen Fällen, die ersten. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. Ach so, wenn das Messer natürlich... Okay, ja gut. Okay, wenn das Messer... Okay, gut, ja, ich verstehe jetzt. Ich bin vom Schlauch runtergelaufen, okay? Wenn natürlich das Messer vergiftet war, würde es natürlich Sinn ergeben, wenn man dann sagt, ich ziehe das wieder raus, weil Gift schlecht. Ah! What? Das ist irgendeine Fliege in meinem Gesicht. Stopp! Dumme Fliege. Fliege flach. Fliege flach. Ich hasse Fliegen. Haha! So. Klatsch mal! Ha! The Oracle not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Ey! Ja, ich hab die Fliege erwischt. Then, tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory in the Imperial Yume Uni. Where's the tea? The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison was no relevance in this case. But... Prosecutor Aoji, you will let the defense speak.
But a newspaper article. The court cannot rely on the kind of heresy those wretched publications carry.
Doch. Counsel for the defense. I am going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will then indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion.
Yeah, Judge, good man. Your Excellency.
Yes, of course. Thank you. They would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article where it says, deadly in tiny quantities. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes a death in minutes. Are you suggesting? If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Membami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body. What?
Objection! This is complete and utter nonsense.
Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility.
Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document.
Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold. It did, actually, already.
Oh, please! This is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyway.
In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potential lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense.
Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it, yokel?
Why did Ray suspect his stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds. What?
You can't possibly.
From your expression, counsel, it would appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must beware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence.
Hallo, Seppo. Hero.
Na, was geht? Yes, Your Excellency. I am well aware of that. I've seen it many times from my place at his side in the Old Bailey. Pocket Sand, ha-cha-cha! Pocket Sand! Pocket Sand! Glitter! Pinker Glitter. In that case, counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? Is es? Postmortem Report? Weil da drin steht mit den Augen. Augen! Das ist gerade Beefhaus voll gefressen, geil. Ich hätte gerne mehr Zeit gehabt, um Abendessen zu genießen. Hatte ich leider nicht. Muss danach nochmal was essen. Es war gut, aber ja. Ja. Präsent! Tutorial. Ja, das ist den ganzen Tutorial verpasst. Das sind ja erst 2,5 Stunden drin. Hey. I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the postmortem report, which reads: extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim. Ah! Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please, do tell me. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death. Well, under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. True, weil sie entspannen. Entspannung. Oder? Müsst ihr theoretisch, wenn die Iris sich entspannt, ne? Müsste sie aufgehen? Ich habe keine Ahnung, ich verstehe nichts. Ich habe keine Ahnung. If there was an extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes. Der war undercover mal wieder. Ich weiß nicht für was. Als Schildkröte anscheinend. Frag mich nicht. Nee, ist sie nicht. Sie hatte nicht wirklich Ahnung von Medizin.
What are you doing, you yokel detective?
In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occur in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. What? If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely. Sorry. Falsches Wort. Irgendein Wort gelesen, was da nicht stand. Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt. Ah. Prosecutor Oji, I think you'll agree, this is very compelling evidence. Yorker student and... Ich kann nicht fertig lesen. Danke. Genau, er hat Dinge gesagt. Okay. I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions. No! Ich kann nicht aber Nein sagen. Eugene Mikotoba, sorry. Yokai student. Ah! Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. Nimm das, Schmerzen! So. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. I don't know. It pains me to have to admit it. But I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly. But I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court, that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say.
Listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper.
I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision. Father.
A pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control over your students, rather than following them off on killing sprees.
Sie hat damit die richtige Energie, ne? Ich habe nicht gelesen. Was hat sie gesagt? Wer hat Holdig gesagt? Oh, hallo Ray.
None of this is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault.
Ray. Mami-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated.
But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day.
What? So you knew?
I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Saseki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was.
Why didn't you let me know immediately?
I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So, I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was.
Schwan Lady.
The thief? You don't mean... Yes, of course, it was that dainty English woman.
Miss Giselle Brett?
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable.
Soundalerts kaputt? Hallo? Soundalerts?
Wer hat die Soundalerts kaputt gemacht? I know it was you who stole the poison. Well, now, whatever do you mean?
Soundalerts? Hallo? Hallo?
Kann ich Wärmepump machen?
Hallo? What the fuck? Moment. Hä? Moment. Help! Ja, aber vorher ging die noch. Die ging doch vorher noch. Hallo? Ich will nicht mehr gehen. Ist doch an, hallo? Sounddollars haben Urlaub, ja. Aber jetzt gerade erst. Hallo? Moment. Mal die. Müsste ja. Hä? Hallo? Da muss sie ja schon die Alerts selber machen. Also, Honk! Und, was war das andere? Kann ich einen Bonk machen? Kann ich einen... Mache ich einen Bonk? Scheiße. Ich will es ja spielen. Ich kann es ja auf der Page spielen. Aber warte, das ist glaube ich nur ein Browser-Source. Ups, das bringt natürlich euch nichts. Nein, habe ich noch nicht. Weil ich gerade Sounds Alert am Fixen bin. Warum spielst du denn nicht? Warte, ich versuch mal den Link zu aktualisieren. Dashboard, I use open. Ich muss mal kurz gucken. Wir gucken noch mal. Hallo? Nee, okay, sind kaputt. Kann ich? Kann ich nicht, ne? Oh, ich habe keine Ahnung. Okay, Sandra ist immer wieder am Arsch. Nice. Warum sie ging hier vor noch? Ich verstehe nicht. So ein Cake. Warte, ich brauche keine Tastatur. Also ich schätze mal vermutlich, dass der Server mal wieder, dass irgendwie die Serververbindung nicht stimmt mit der Webseite und die gerade pups ist. Da kann ich nichts machen, sorry. Wie war das? Bonk? Bonk muss ich noch machen. Ich brauche einen Bonk. Was mache ich Bonk? Das ist ein Bonk, bitteschön. Was ist jetzt ein Bonk? Ist mir egal. Almost.
And then she suddenly got to her feet before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor.
Ich könnte auf meinen Kopf hauen. Ja, wenn ich in so eine Plastikding hätte, kann ich auf meinen Kopf hauen. Ah. Sorry. Sollt ihr was kriegen für eure Kanalpunkte? Ich meine für eure Polyglots. Für die Polyglots. Polyglotten. Polyglottis.
That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened.
Aber hab ich nicht vorher gesagt, hat's einen Spalt. Ich war bestimmt da durchgestochen worden. Durch den Spalt. In der Wand. Es ist legit durch den Spalt gestochen. Bitte, bitte. Zu smart manchmal. Manchmal nicht.
I couldn't understand what had just happened.
Polyglotti, genau.
And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints.
I don't believe it. In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her.
Und so weiter.
Which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. On the blade of the knife in her back.
And what train of thought was what... And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade? So sehe ich ihn eben dran.
Yes. If the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I hoped. Really, I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time.
Ja. Oh, die hat Spaß. Der Drip Judge. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end. Thank you. Your Excellency! Ich glaube, haut sie so gefühlt haut sie ihren Kopf dann auf den Tisch. Ich hoffe nicht. It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here, in this courtroom now. Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Membami-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed. Nein? Well, you have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you? I don't need one. Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive. What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it. You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Uchi. Perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student. What? I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you've brought this on yourself. Das war der Kameramann. Ich hatte so Gefühl so. Wie hätte er auch sonst wissen sollen, dass das Gift gestohlen worden ist? Der Reporter. Es ist die gleiche Kamera, es ist der gleiche Typ, der das Bild beim vom Gespräch zwischen Soseki und Dings gemacht hat. Das ist nämlich die kaputte Linse. What the... Wer redet da schon wieder eigentlich? Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air on that beach is almost palpable. This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature. For it shows the precise moment that Membami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back. No, that's not true! No! I don't believe it. Great. Everything going according to Keikaku, so. Order! 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 Counsel for the defense. What is it you... was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom? Perhaps his voice has yet to break? These yokels are slow of mind and slow of nature. Rude. I'll show you... I'll show you who's slow slow to nature. Careful now. Susato is starting to show her face here. Editor's note, Keikaku means plan. Yes. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extremely congruent photographic print as evidence. The incriminating photograph has been entered into the court record. Thank you, I think. I don't know. I can't believe he's had a photograph like that up his sleeve all this time. Kann ich das schon angucken? Das bringt mir momentan noch nichts. Außerdem, von wo wird das Bild gemacht? Ich will mal gucken. Es sieht aus, als ob es müsste von der Seite gemacht worden sein, nicht? Schwierig. Müsste dann irgendwie von der Seite gemacht sein. Egal, whatever. Also nicht, was mir das bringt. It's such a stark image. Tony Stark! Ich meine, was? I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... I mean, who took that photograph? Ray. That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention. Oh.
Objection!
That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony. Perfect. I will uphold the defense demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once. Das wollte er nicht, ne?
Well, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Warum nicht? Pardon?
You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday. But there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address.
Ich kann's proven, wer es ist.
The provenance of the print is unknown.
Goodness. But I do know. Are we to understand then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence into the Supreme Court? Es ist einfach voll am Slain hier. When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment. Because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you?
Silence! You yokel student and blabbering professor! What matters is the blatant truth that this print is eloquently expresses.
Whoops.
But the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly, this isn't the moment that the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but the moment it was withdrawn? Don't waste this court's time with your ramblings.
Hey, indeed. Without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. And the scene it captures is without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear.
Oh no.
Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim. Yes, we just need to prove that somehow.
You have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against Taketsuchi Aochi in a court of law.
If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial is going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it. Muss ich nochmal einen Court Record gehen? Okay, ich kann es nicht nochmal angucken. Naja. Aber ich kann dieses Ding zeigen. Well, Counsel. Your Excellency,
The burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is, I have the answer. I know! I'm smooth. This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal. What? No, you can't possibly. But as you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us. Unfortunately, I'm unable to present the name. How utterly underwhelming. Did you really? However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity. What? Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Oh, yes. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mysterious photographer? What is that? The newspaper again? Brokers, England returnees tell all. It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side. Ah, yes, indeed. They had already caught my eye as it happens. Huh! What a fit! A shadow of some kind, presumably from the branches of a tree or the like. There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you. Now, if you look closely at this photograph... Good gracious! Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph too. Well, that tells us nothing. Ah, yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree. Look at this graph! Okay. Warte. Kann das besser. Moment. Moment. Ich brauche ein Bild. Ich brauche ein Bild. Ich brauche ein Bild. Ich brauche ein Bild. Ich hab ein Bild. Ist das ein Bild? Ein gutes Bild. Warte. Moment. Ich krieg das hin. Ist viel Stuff neben hier. Habe ich ein gutes? Ich will das richtig machen. Ich habe daneben ganz viele Bilder. Warte. Ich mach das jetzt richtig. Look at this photograph! Okay, bye. Okay, lass mal das. Da war ein Bilderrahmen. Ich muss erstmal Bilderrahmen freiräumen. Da waren ganz viele andere Bilder drüber. So. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach council. That's quite remarkable about it, is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. What? Die sind das gleiche? Hätte ich nicht gedacht. Nee, das ist jetzt eine Überraschung. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired? Ist das ein Crack? The curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints are a result of a camera defect. The branches. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs. With the photographic evidence? Yes.
We can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched. Oder gebrochen. And that the scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device. In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera. But nix but. There must be hundreds of such cameras devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one. Warum nicht? Das ist bei einer Zeitung. I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Ochi, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article. A newspaper? Ah! Ja, der muss ganz viel trinken. Das sind keine Äste, sondern Äste! Genau. That's right. The author of that article is the mysterious witness to this crime. What? What? Der Junge. Minimo! Was? Minimo! Okay. I see why you were called a Racus England Returnee. Rocious? Ich habe keine Ahnung, wie das Wort ausspricht. Rocious? Spricht mir das Rocious aus? Ich habe keine Ahnung. Ich weiß es nicht. What are you yelling about? You've already testified. It's many Menno, I tell you, many Menno. Also er kennt einen Typen. Many Memo. Animo. So. Memo. Many Memo. Sag das Thema schnell hintereinander. Okay, sag das nicht 10-mal hintereinander. Scheiße. Soseki-san, what was that? Did you say mini memo? Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyu News has been hounding me, following me my every move. A reporter by the name of Raiten Many Memo, Gottverdammt, der Name. Er kann sogar seinen Namen töten. Voll gut. Yes, hounding me from dawn till dusk. Now that he mentions it. Das war doch der Typ von vorher, ja? Natürlich. Der Typ. Oh, guck mal. Guck mal auf sein Armband. Leute, guck mal auf sein Armband. Außerdem RM. RM. Der hat ja gar nicht die gleichen Initialen. Krass. Okay. They secretly spy snapshots, scribble notes and scupper my privacy. So. Could that same reporter be... Big A camera to the left of him. No, to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Raiten many memo. Raiten. Keine Ahnung. Wir haben Englisch reden. Ich kann keine japanische Aussprache hin. So you're saying that this picture was taken by many memo. Yes! My Lord, Your Excellency Esquire! Reiten? Achso. Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. As you say, Your Excellency. And one more thing.
I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. But you cannot find it. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's Medical Department for the task, understood? Bam, bam! Okay, the moves. He got the moves like Jagger. Ich meine was. Meh. Meh? Hat er mich angemäht? Meh. Mi. Mini Bobo. Was ist falsch mit dem? Ah. Alter, meine Stimme ist gerade richtig hart im Sterben, ne? Ich mache nicht nochmal den gleichen Fehler. Honestly. Ach, die Musik ist so gut. Ich mache die... Ha! Resolve. Los, ist der Fehler nochmal. Was? Denken wegen... Ja, easy, lass mal das Tutorial durchmachen. Nee. Bin ich denn des Wahnsinns? Nein. Sollen wir erst 3 Stunden? Aber meine Stimme ist so krass im Arsch gerade. Komm ich wieder aufs Menü rein? Aber kann Voices ausstellen, lol? Dann Stimme stunden. Ja, eben. Ich muss vor allem Sonntag muss ich auch nochmal lesen, ne? Schlimm. Back to Title. Ich möchte nämlich keine Musik haben. Nee, da muss ich nicht nochmal speichern. Das will ich nur gleich nochmal sehen. Yes. Und morgen ist D&D, stimmt. Aber da muss ich meine Stimme nicht die ganze Zeit so verstellen. Das stimmt. So. Dann machen wir das ganz einfach. Wir verschieben uns weiter. Ich glaube, wir gehen zu Razy Party. Kitty, die rumschreit. Machen wir ein Raid dahin. Ich wünsche euch allen noch einen schönen Abend und bis morgen, Sonntag, whatever, wie auch immer.